Good evening, Nifties. Welcome to Nitsuri Nicole. I am Nicole, and we are a crafting community. So grab your work in progress, also known as a whip, and let's get started on our 10-minute crafting break. Tonight, I am drinking Tasty. We love Tasty. And I'm drinking Lychee Peachy, and it's full sweet, and it is pretty sweet. But it's pretty delicious. And I just wish that I had gotten it half sweet. But my son likes it full sweet, and, of course I have to share with him. Just take the whole thing. It's okay. My son is doing homework, and I am I'm working too, actually, but I thought I would take a little break. So I'm getting my little wax ready, and I'm hoping that it's a little bit cleaner tonight, because the other night was a little bit messy. Okay, let's hope that works. There we go. And I'm hoping to get this little portion done right here, like maybe this little section of 4 to finish up, but we shall see. So I've already set out my colors because I was chit-chatting, and I just thought, oh, I'll set these out. So I saw today, no, maybe it was yesterday, I saw on Threads, of course, Threads is going crazy with the protests, or my Threads is going crazy with the protests. And then someone said, oh, no one can tell me that Threads isn't AOL Messenger. And that made me laugh. I did love AOL Messenger. One time, when I was teaching, I was in my 3rd year teaching, so I was a little bit more, a little bit seasoned. And actually, I had changed. So when I first started teaching, I started teaching elementary school, and I taught in this great district in the Central Valley of California. And in the Central Valley, they have a lot of farmland, and it's good. It's delicious because all the food up there is really yummy. They grow so many things, and so therefore the food tastes really fresh and good. I think they say like California produces half of the US's food, and specifically in the Central Valley, they produce a lot of food. So that area is really known for the farm workers and people who work in the agricultural. Maybe they work in canneries and things like that. And I loved teaching there, but it was hard to be a teacher. And one thing that was hard was the way that they are always wanting you to turn in lesson plans. And and this is the thing. I know they're important. They are important. But were they as important as I was, doing them? Probably not. Like, I would color code them, and I would spend time, and they have these things called pacing charts, and that tells you where you're supposed to be. And so I was like, I religiously followed the pacing charts because I wanted to be, on track, and I wanted my kids to be on track. And, what that means, though, ultimately is that you leave some kids behind. And that's the worst thing. It's the worst thing to leave any of your kids behind. But I was a new teacher, and so I didn't know, right? And that's why, like, the benefit of a new teacher is that they're excited. They're excited, and they have so much love in their hearts, most of them, right? Because they just spent a lot of time trying to be, become an educator, and thinking that they're going to spend their whole life being an educator. And so I love the energy that they bring. But when you have a seasoned educator, the benefit is that that educator can typically meet the needs of all the students a little bit more individualistically. And so if you have kids that are very low, as a seasoned educator, you can somehow manage to balance the lesson so that the kids who are very low get the help they need, while the kids who are very high, because you get both in a class, are challenged. And then as someone who was so tied to the pacing chart, I want to say that I should just do it like individually, huh? Anyway, I want to say that my kids who were very high were bored with my instruction, and the kids who were very low were too challenged with it. And I didn't, like, I knew that at the time, but I didn't know what to do about it. And I didn't know, and then part of it is me, that I didn't want to tell anyone that I knew that that was happening. And so I would be a little bit creative, and I would make, like, the kids who were not challenged, I would make them be helpers, or I would make them be a teacher and give them a pen to mark things off, you know, with just whatever it was to keep them occupied and, you know, just kind of happy and, you know, learning too. But were they learning at their best potential? They were not. And I'm sorry for that, but they were still learning, because when you teach other people, you learn more. Every teacher knows that. So I think I was still a good teacher, but was I the teacher that I am now? No way. At any rate, because it was so hard, I decided that I would go and teach math. And it's funny because I told you I'm not very good at counting. And I actually went to school to be an elementary school teacher. So in the US, I'm going to drink some of my drink. I got this drink earlier, and then I put it in the freezer because I was like, oh, I'm going to have my drink when I do my video. But then I forgot about it. This drink has little pieces of lychee in it, which is fruit. So that's refreshing. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to become a math teacher, because then I only have to prepare for one subject, math, not English and spelling and writing. We did cursive back then, cursive, and not that preparing for cursive is that hard, let's be honest, but you know, all the same, cursive, spelling, writing, science, social studies, PE, just everything. I literally did everything, just like all the other teachers. And we had huge classes, like 35 kids. And that's when we had tracks. So, I mean, the classes were full, but the kids were great. The kids were great at any rate. So I went to a district. Oh my gosh. I really know how to drag out a story, don't I? But I'm still all into it. And I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back to where we started. At any rate, so I went to this district where I taught math only. And it was in a much bigger city. And I was living alone. I was living all by myself. And I finally had like a 2-bedroom apartment, which was huge for me. I never had my own big space. And I just thought I was so, fancy. And I would get home from school, and it was easier to prep only math. I did, the district was different, and we won't get into that, but I'm going to wrap up my story. So I was there in my big girl apartment, and I thought I was so fancy, and I had a bedroom and like an office study area, and I would get home from work, and then I would go running because I was more of a runner at that time. And then I wanted to take a shower, but I was pretty exhausted, let's be honest. And then I also wanted to have some tea because I think it must have been hot. And so I put the tea kettle on to boil, and I think I got out of the shower and I put the tea kettle on to boil. And then back then we had AOL Messenger, which is how I'm getting to this story. And it had to dial up, and I had to use the phone line. So I was in there, and I must have gotten like really caught up in the chat room because my water pot that I had used to boil the water boiled dry, and then in addition started melting on my stove. And then a fire broke out. And I had only lived there maybe like 3 months, 2 or 3 months at the time. And I was like in the relatively big city, and so I didn't know what to do, and I was, freaking out. And I went to the downstairs neighbor and I said, my stove's on fire. And then the downstairs neighbor called 911. And the fire truck came and the firefighters came, and they were gorgeous. And they had to use that flame retardant stuff to spray all over my stove, and then they had to have these big industrial fans to like spray out this, to like, you know make the smell go away. And so my whole place was a mess, but it's because I was so into that AOL messenger. So I blame AOL for the fire. It wasn't that big. It was just that one thing. And they put it out pretty quickly because they were, good at the time. I mean, they're still good, but they were good, and they were really helpful. And little did I know, though, when I got there, they said, "Why didn't you use the fire extinguisher?" And I said, "I don't have a fire extinguisher." And they said, "It's right here, right outside your door." Because it was an apartment complex. They have to have them. So now, as an adult, I know that I should be looking for the fire extinguisher and where it is, because public places have to have one outside. Anyway, so that's our lesson for tonight, Nifties. I hope that you have had a relaxing, or at least, maybe entertaining time listening to my silly story about Threads / AOL Messenger. And speaking of Threads, we have so many new Thriends. We have, since I posted maybe like 2 days ago, we have Moab Chick, Donna-esque Designs, Christina Fonda Z, Tracy Tester, Ray Shalar, Kiara Giglio, Tease Inks Olives, Brittany Wheat Art, and Urban Chaos Cottage, who've all become our friends on Threads, who I think they call them Thriends. So our Thriends Nifties. And we have a brand new subscriber on YouTube, Curated Life by Wiggle Butt Crochet. And that makes us, my son thought that was funny. It is funny. Thanks, Curated Life by Wiggle Butt Crochet. You've made us laugh for tonight. And that has brought us up to 50 subscribers on our YouTube channel. I'm so grateful that 50 of you in the world see my vision. And, sometimes I can see that like other channels have, millions of people, but someone said that if we were to imagine all of those subscribers like in the room with us, 50 would be a lot. 50 would feel full. I told you already, like they used to have like 35 kids in the classroom, and it was full. So the fact that we have 50 people out there, just crafting with us and making, like, joining our community and being Nifties with us is just so heartwarming. Thank you so much for your time and for following and for liking and for your comments. And I would love to see your progress on our Threads if you have time. And you will see, I'm going to probably try to finish a little bit more. And we'll see how it goes, because I do have a lot of work. But I will definitely post my progress on our Threads tonight too. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good evening.